Welcome to the Last Mile Delivery Podcast, your front row seat to the technological advancements shaping the future of last mile logistics. This podcast includes recordings from our Last Mile Delivery meetup, offering you exclusive insights and discussions about the cutting edge of the final mile in logistics. If you are interested in finding out more about upcoming events, technological updates, and industry news, subscribe to the Bettermile newsletter. The link is in our bio.
Yeah, summer is over, peak season is coming. This is a Last Mile Delivery meetup number 4. We have chosen a new topic. I'll introduce it to you later. It is our format to bring together established players in the market, neo-carriers, tech providers, to talk about user experience, operational challenges, and the parcel business itself, and how we can help with digital products, with solutions to actually ease this business and make it better for everyone. It's great to have you all here. Give yourself a hand. Could I have my slides? So, last time we met at the end of May, a long time ago, before summer really took off. We learned about delivery experience, mostly from a consignee perspective. So we had speakers from What Three Words, from Zebra, and also from Customer Code. That was quite of a highlight. They introduced us to their study where they were testing more than 10 carriers in Germany about the real-time tracking experience that they can provide. Today, again, we have more than 500 participants joining us for the Last Mile Delivery meetup, more than 100 people here on site. Really glad to have you all here, especially that people joined from more than 25 countries. And I can tell you a funny story. Last week, I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and walking in the hotel, and some random person came up to me and said, "I know you." I said, "Oh." Like in Nashville, Tennessee, and he said, "I know you from the Last Mile Delivery meetup." It was a parcel event, but I actually met a bunch of people, and I'm really glad to say that it became a kind of industry event. It's a niche industry. It's an industry where not too many experts work, so it's even more important that we share our experience and how we can use digital products to make this business better. So I want to especially say hi to our new joiners that are here for the first time. For example, on the delivery company side, we welcome Daxa. On the new carrier, neo-carrier side, we have Vinted Go, we have Just Eat joining for the first time. We have Better Trucks also speaking tonight, and we have Drop Off. So really happy to have you guys here. And on the tech side, we have MileyTech for the first time, and Carla as a multi-carrier tracking platform here from Berlin also joined us. So really great to have you here. We have even more people from the retailer side, for example, from Zalando. More and more people and teams are joining us. So that's really cool to see that also from this retailer perspective, the user experience in parcel delivery gets more and more important. Yeah. So whether a carrier, established one, a neo-carrier, a tech provider, this event is all about creating a community. It is about contributing to an exchange on hands-on experience. We're not talking about, we're not Fraunhofer. We're not talking about this research that may come, to us usable in a couple of years or so. This is about hands-on, what's going on in the business, what we can change tomorrow, and this is also, and I'm saying this all the time, and you guys might be tired of it, but I'm saying it again. Those here in the room and online who see each other as competitors and don't want to talk about things that they do and want to, rather keep information to themselves and think what they proprietary are doing is best in class. You're having the wrong perspective. The real competition is somewhere else. It's the very big players in the Silicon Valley and in other locations that are gathering the data and are taking it out of your hands. So we need to cooperate, we need to bring things together, and we need to share our experience. Yeah, as Bettermile, we're glad to be your host tonight. For those who don't know Bettermile, we're roughly 80 people located here in Berlin, and we've started this company about 5 years ago, and we're active in 13 countries. And what we do is actually we do not provide a platform for parcel delivery. We rather provide modular components that delivery companies integrate into their systems, so they can connect their transport management system, for example, with Bettermile, which is an address processing and geocoding tool. Better Route is a sequence optimization and routing application, where we also have an app for delivery drivers. And Better Tracking uses this data and others to provide a real-time Uber-alike experience for parcel delivery. And there are also a couple of tools in web front ends, we call it, or back office-alike applications for compliance steering, operational control, and performance measurement. Yeah, so far so good. We are processing per day roughly 2.3 million parcels, process about 6 million addresses per day. 25,000 drivers are using our tools, our app every day, and we have about 3 million tracking requests every day. So that's fascinating, that's growing, and it's really fun doing this, not just because it's improving the productivity for the delivery companies, especially because it's improving the user experience for its consignees. Yeah, so far the marketing part, right? So, as that summer is over, I want to share a story with you, and as an intro, and this is my journey back from vacation. And I sat in a plane, and I don't know if you guys are regularly doing this. I wouldn't call myself a plane spotter, but I really like following up planes on this tracking applications. So even when I'm in a plane myself, I like to track it. So where I'm going and if it's on time, etc. It's really cool. And so I was perfectly informed, full transparency about my flight. And then from the airport, I had an Uber application or my Uber app, and I could arrange like a perfect pickup point at the airport. That's not really a matching screenshot here, but I couldn't find something else. Like a perfectly matching screenshot of where to pick me up, at which gate, which time, etc. And then at home, I opened the door, and of course, I also opened my post box, and I saw this, right? This is after 2 weeks of vacation. This Bergan, by the way, is a Vinted shipping. We'll have a speaker from Vinted later on. So for used cloth from my kids, and those are notification papers from DHL of my missed parcels. I really wonder why I miss my parcels. I know when I'm on vacation, and I don't understand why I cannot let them know where to put it or where to deliver it later. So it's a really tough thing. I tried to do it. It just didn't work. It was not considered, right? And then I went on, and I saw this. And it said, it was like a piece of paper from my neighbors warning about parcel fraud. So they said, watch out. If people come to your doorstep and ask for picking up the parcel, let them show their ID if it's really them, because I live in a big house. And it really happens that people intentionally go to some door, ring, and ask for the parcels. And it's not difficult because it's always the ground floor where all the parcel ends, right? And this is then where also fraud happens. Isn't that crazy? And I wouldn't even say that in this occasion and that occasion you could blame the delivery driver, right? Because if you have 130, 150 packs to deliver per day, you choose the ground floor, right? Sometimes it's just not possible to go up to the 5th floor. And if you cannot find the person, or if you need to, you rather bring it to the parcel shop, and then later the consignee has to pick it up from the parcel shop. So what we see every day, and what I've seen when coming back from summer vacation, is a lack of user experience caused by productivity demands, right? And this is what it is all about. So we're talking about the fight, like the box fight between productivity, quality, and user experience, a battle that's happening every day in every parcel depot, in every urban area, in every village road about parcel delivery. And today I want again with you join the dream of having rather a dance piece that is orchestrated by digital tools, where everyone is informed, that is aesthetically attractive, where things go hand in hand and you can take in control, and it's just a beautiful dance piece. So today the topic will be navigating customer-centric experiences. So you see the slight shift that we have from user experience to customer experience, which means customer, we are on the shipper side today, and try to view it from that angle, how they see things, how they see their users, how they see their customers as retailers. And I'm really happy to have 3 fantastic speakers today. It's Mike Koleno. He is CTO of Better Trucks. He brings extensive experience in technology leadership to our event. Founded in 2019, Better Trucks is a lean, technology-driven regional last-mile carrier in the United States. And Mike is joining us today from Chicago, Illinois, remotely. Please give Mike a hand. Mike! Hey. So, speaker number 2 will be Stephen Bergan. He's president of GLS United States. GLS US is the largest West Coast regional carrier serving 9 Western United States states. Stephen has more than 10 years of experience in the transportation industry and successfully driven growth, especially by applying technology to the companies he worked in. And Stephen today joins from Santa Fe in California, the headquarters of GLS US. Please welcome with me Stephen Bergan. And then we have Nicolo. He's leading the strategic partnerships teams at Vinted Go, and he will share his expertise on how to evaluate carriers from a retailer's perspective. But you may wonder why I introduced this event today as coming through the carrier angle, because Vinted, as a big online shop or platform for exchanging used cloth, selling used cloth, is also becoming a parcel carrier, building up an extensive out-of-home parcel locker network. So I'm really excited, Nicolo, to have you here, and I'm looking forward to your talk. Where are you, Nicolo? Ah, there you are. Hi, welcome. So this is the format. We'll have, after my intro, we'll have the 3 speakers, everyone 15 to 20 minutes of talk. And after each talk, you guys will have the chance for a Q&A, ask your questions. We'll have some discussions. For those guys joining remotely, please use the chat function on your computer on the video stream. It will pop up here on my tablet, and I can read out the question. For those guys on site, I'll just pick my mic here and come up to you, so you can ask your question. And yeah, that's pretty much it. After Nicolas, we'll have a short panel discussion. So we try to craft like a summary of what we've heard. I'm happy also if you guys here on site participate in this round. And then we'll join like an on-site networking session for those guys that you're here. Enjoy our fridge and our snacks, and yeah, have some good chats. All right. So last but not least, I want to ask you to sign up for the Bettermile newsletter on bettermile.com, so you don't miss any of our next last mile delivery meetups, and also on LinkedIn, where we regularly spread the news, and also call out for speakers. So if you might be interested to join as a speaker as in one of our next meetups, you're more than welcome. Please come up to me or Clara and from Bettermile, and then we'll make it happen. Yeah. So really glad to have you here. And now, yeah, please welcome with me Mike from Better Trucks. Hang on a second. Mic is on mute. We'll figure it out. Bear with us in a minute. So we still don't hear you, Mike. The guys are working on it. Maybe give us a test, 1, 2, 3. Otherwise, we could try with Steven instead. Would that be an option? Yeah, Steven, are you ready to jump in? Would that be okay until we get the connection to Mike fixed? Can you give us a test?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, cool. All right, yeah, perfect. We can hear you. So if you don't mind and jump in, we'll start with you.
You got it.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Steven.
All right, assuming the presentation is up. Thanks everybody for letting me spend some time with you today. I'll start off with a little bit of my background and then where GLS US is today, and then jump into kind of the user experience and what it is that we've experienced over the course of our time here in the US. So really quick, I started in the logistics industry back in 2001, working for a regional carrier. I was more on the finance side of the house and some IT side, and then got myself engaged in the operation, very quickly getting into route management and user experience on that side. That company ends up being the one that joined GLS in 2017. And since then, we've had a couple other acquisitions to build out what it is we're doing here. All throughout that time, I've had a huge focus on the technology and where we could push things. I think regional players and smaller organizations are often much more nimble and able to meet niche customer demands that then turn into larger platform level technologies. And so one of the things we created back then was what we termed was SignaSite, which was one of the first platforms to capture a picture at proof of delivery and do a full digital capture of a signature, transmission, and all that, something that the large national carriers here in the US just couldn't do at the time. So since then, we are now, so get this to go. So GLS US now today is 50 plus terminals, 350 asset-based tractors. We run a hybrid asset-light model with our network line haul and our freight side being full asset, and then our first and last mile on the parcel side being primarily asset light through third-party carriers and a network of those across our footprint. We have 1,000 plus trailers. We actually have over 1,400 parcel vehicles now. We've been growing quite rapidly, so that number keeps changing. And then over 1,500 total drivers within our network. So we have a direct service network in the Western 9 United States, as well as integrations in with our friends here at Better Trucks and some other regional carriers to help give us a larger footprint that we're able to provide value to our shippers. Here in the US, we've invested $35 million into automation and material handling, which is equally important to how you're handling the customer user experience, because those are the points you're getting the data and the scans and things you can transmit out to the customers. It also builds out your capacity. So we've been building capacity and investing throughout our network here the past few years with a big focus in reducing damage and just improving overall speed. In general, one of our value props is we are a day faster than the big national carriers because of what we focused on our technology and our material handling across our network. Overall, at GLS US, these are what we see as our 5 key value props. And the way that we've positioned it is, what are the challenges that we see that shippers and consignees have? And then how is it that we're bringing a unique solution to market on that? And I won't read these to you, but overall, it's being able to provide a cost-effective service, speeding up time in transit, which is obviously critical to consignees. If you order it today, you want it as quick as you can get it. Tracking and communication, ensuring we've got the latest and greatest, where we're keeping folks updated, and I'll speak to that a little more specifically here momentarily. Consignee and shipper support, understanding the difference in what each one of those folks needs. And then flexibility, customers like Simon pointing out exactly with his box and what he got back from vacation, recipients want that capability to say, no, I want it on this day or these hours, or, hey, I'm going to be out of town. So that flexibility is absolutely critical. And how can you bring technology to bear against that? So with that, and overall here in North America, this is the footprint that we service today. So again, our direct footprint here on the left, we integrate with our Canadian counterparts to the north, and then we're working with partners here in the expansion networks that you can see here out east, and then hopefully here into Europe very quickly. So when it comes to technology, the way that we view our world is really bifurcated into 2 segments, shippers and recipients. And each one of those has very specific different needs of what they want to see from a carrier. On the shipper side, it's about detailed reporting. They're the ones paying the bill, so they want to make sure they get everything they need. They're looking at total landed cost. They're looking for cost-effective solutions. They want responsiveness from an account manager who understands their business. They need service stability. They use shipping technology platforms in order to integrate with our network. That's very different than a recipient who is looking to be able to access the status on their delivery from multiple modes. So whether that be Twitter, Facebook, call, text, chat. They're looking for that omni-channel experience. They're looking for that flexibility we just talked about. They want to be able to generate feedback to the shipper with what their experience was. So they're hitting that 5-star, 1-star, the trust pilots. They want certainty over speed. So they want to know for sure exactly what's going to happen as close to when it's going to happen as possible. And then the biggest thing we all deal with is they will go public and they will go viral. So we have to be able to handle for those situations before things go in a negative path that way. So we have to gear our technology for solutions to that. But in the end, everything we do is really split from processes, communication, services, reporting into these 2 separate worlds. And to give you a flavor of how we handle that, first is with shipper demands. On the shipper side, we've launched what we call ShipSite by GLS, which is a consolidated reporting view. Shippers want to know on an aggregated level where all their packages are, what are the current statuses of those packages. Is there anything that they need to be addressing, whether it be a bad address or something's unsafe to leave or a situation arises that they need to get involved? They want to be able to timely get involved in that. And then just being able to understand the whole flow of where their packages are. So with ShipSite, we're able to provide that into our custom portal, and that's been a big focus for us, is to ensure we're getting that data back to our shippers, and we've been successful at it through this. Additionally, every shipper has a different need. So, shippers have different demands relative to what they want. These are just a small example of things that we're looking to deliver to the different shippers. In some cases, they want to know every status update. So what's that real-time status? They need to know in the moment, for the moment. Maybe they're getting a HelloFresh package. It's super perishable. So every minute counts. Other ones are really concerned about the geofence. They want that flagged, coded, understand reporting behind it. Others need a signature because of legal requirements, or it's wine, something that an adult needs to sign for. And then others want the picture POD. So we have to be able to bring all those, serve them up in the way that the shipper is looking for them. So those are the areas in technology we've really focused on from a shipper standpoint, and making sure those are available on all the latest platforms, whether it be API, EDI, whichever format the shipper's looking for. On the other side, we've got the recipient, and they're very different. Now, on this here, one of the statistics for us that we notice is we do about 100,000 parcels a day across our direct service footprint. Every day, however, we get about 350 to 400,000 hits on our tracking. So what this tells us is that on average, people are hitting us with a Wizmo, which if you don't know what that is, it's where is my order. We get a Wizmo hit on average 3 to 4 times from every recipient for every package that's going in the network. So that tells us that recipients, they want to know things all the time. They want constant updates. So what we've done to address that is we've got a constant push of information going their direction. So every step of the way, when they're asking Wizmo, we're sending them a note. Hey, we've got your package from the shipper. It's on the way. Hey, today's the day. We've got it loaded. It's on the truck. You're going to get that delivery. Next, we've got the updates. So we're trying to provide an ETA to the ship or to the recipient, saying, okay, hey, today's the day, but it's coming at 10 a.m. And then when it finally gets delivered, we're sending them a heads up with a link so they can then access to see the picture of the proof of delivery on our tracking. And so what that does is then answers all those questions through a push environment back to these recipients, and helps prevent any Wizmo or frustration and give that user a more positive experience. Additionally, in that same vein, recipients, they constantly want to interact with the delivery company. And to do that, it's critical that we have two-way, what we call omni-channel communication. So here, just demonstrated are some of the ways here in the last few years that we've had to put together ways to speak with customers. So we've got everything from the top, which is legacy tracking, tracing, and then manually giving a phone call back, up to the web chat, which is semi-AI driven. So if they've got an easy question, it'll serve up all the information on their delivery and then fold into a real live person when appropriate to provide additional assistance if needed. We've got push emails, we've got push text messages, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we get tracking requests through all those mediums. And as Gen Z and those become older, those just become the norm, that it's easy just to direct message on Twitter to track my package and then expect a response back from someone on our team that can provide that. And then having that information available and served up for them to review. And then finally, what we're looking at from a technology perspective is how do we get more direct communication to the driver from the recipient? So the circle going around the box here is really the old school way of doing it, right? So a recipient used to call a call center and they would say, all right, here's what I need done with my package. The call center would say, okay, we'll let the depot know and we'll pass on that information. So now you're relying on this game of telephone to work as it goes through. The next thing is, okay, well, I'll let the driver manager know. And then the driver manager passing on and letting the driver know. Now, each step of the way, there's a few different things. It's costly because of the number of touches that are involved through this flow, but it's also the opportunity to confuse it. So in this case, the customer wanted it left behind the red wagon on their covered porch. And by the time it got to the driver manager, it was, I think they have a porch, it's in the back and it's uncovered. And now all of a sudden the recipient is very sad because the delivery is happened incorrectly for them. From a technology perspective, if we can drive a more Uber style experience where the recipient, when that delivery comes out, gets the name of the driver, maybe a picture of the driver in the van that they're going to be coming to their house with, and the capability to send a message to give them an update. Hey, I won't be home, but it's okay to leave it in the red wagon on the front door. Those don't need to go through the channels of all these different layers. They can go directly to the driver. So it's managing that experience and managing how that information now gets to the driver and back to the recipient in a way that is controlled, but clears the communication and uses technology to make the user experience better. So those are areas that we are focusing on and delivering new products every day through our dev team and our technology team here in the US. So with that is where we are at today, and with what we're doing on that front. We do many other things, obviously, but open up to any questions from there.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. I would take the first question here from on-site. Anyone up to? Question from Stephen? Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you for your clear presentation. I just had one question about the last part. Now, optimizing the experience and making it really personal is a great service from a commercial point of view, but how do the drivers feel about it? If their photo was in the app and if they were receiving like direct messages, and you know, if you do one package, it's fine, but if you do 150, are they really up to it? And how do they feel about it?
Yep, no, and that's a valid question, and that's where trying to control that experience is so critical of understanding what can the driver handle. I think for us and where we've trialed this experience, the connection of the driver to the recipient is key. Drivers enjoy that, the fact that someone knows they're coming, they know who they are, and all those things. The communication piece, you know, it's a frustration of the driver if they get to a location and they don't know anything about it. That's frustrating. I've done it on ride-alongs where, you know, you get to a place and you don't know the gate code, and it's just, maybe it's a gate that's only 2 feet tall, 3 feet tall, but now it's created just this extra work for you. Whereas if you had that gate code, and it was able to get, you know, be in the notes because the recipient was able to send that and have that directly there as a reference point for when the driver rolled in, then that's a huge upgrade for the driver. So it's really, you're right, it's just about managing what those components are and the expectations through that process.
Any further questions? Also remotely, please use your chat function if you have a question. Any other question from on-site? Stephen, you talked about, and I think this is really a good expression, like creating a push environment, and which means actively informing the consignee. But you need means of communication. I know from a lot of European post delivery companies that this often can, be difficult not only from a legal perspective, but also that retailers or shippers just don't want to share personal information because they want to be in charge of the actual line of communication to their customers. They don't want the delivery company to intervene with. So how do you deal with this challenge?
Yeah, we see both. We definitely have the shippers that want to manage that through and through. So we on a couple different fronts. We've got the legal front. So California, where we're at, is very similar to GDPR. So it's a very similar situation where we work to ensure that everything's compliant. So we've got that compliance piece. And that's really critical for the shippers to know that we have that in place. We can sign off on all the privacy documents and everything there. The second is really to sell the shipper on why there's the benefit to doing this, why it's going to be a better experience for the recipient to have this unique and tech-forward interaction with GLS, because that really then shines on the brand that's shipping with GLS. So if someone has a really cool experience, they're going to say, oh, I'm going to order from Nike again because they shipped with GLS, and GLS, they allowed me to send that note and I got the package left where I wanted. And they also told me the ETA and allowed me to redirect it. So yeah, just whatever you guys do, ship, I'll keep ordering from Nike and I want it shipped GLS. So that's the sales component for us that we bring to market to shippers, and that we can take care of that for them.
Any other questions here from on site? Remotely, yeah, I have one question here. Do drivers face challenges like incorrect addresses, and what is the UTL? Actually, I don't know what the UTL is, but utilization, I guess. Steven, you know better.
Yeah, for drivers, the biggest frustration goes back to the situations where maybe there's a gate, or it's the address is not really clear on the building, or it's a multi-unit apartment building that they can't get access to. Those are the situations that are really frustrating for drivers. So being able to share that knowledge, and I think, from a Bettermile perspective, it's really the better places side of things, where we can retain that knowledge and we can pass on to the driver. So in case it's a new driver, they're doing a new route, maybe haven't been to that building before, if we have any intelligence on that, we can then provide that. And that includes the customer feedback that comes through, as well as maybe notes from another driver of what they had to do in order to effectuate that delivery. But no driver likes going to a location just to find out they can't deliver. That's the worst case. And so being able to solve for that benefits the driver, benefits the shipper, benefits the recipient. And that's really what we put all of our technology focus toward.
My last question would be, you again coming back to the push environment. I really like this word, actually. Do you also push bad news to the company? I mean, there are occasions where you cannot reach them. You cannot deliver today, although you said you will. How do you deal with this? Do you still push it, or do you ghost then?
Yep. No. It's that's exactly valid. So we've been coming up with new ways to push that bad information. At the end of the day, a person, like I think I put in the earlier part, they want to know the facts and definitively what's going on more than anything. So even if the news is bad, they want to know the truth. And integrity being one of our core values, that's absolutely critical. One of the ways that we approach that is through being a little bit cheeky with that information. So, we apologize profusely. We put a little crying face emoji. Hey, it was delayed. We're really sorry. We're very sad. Here's other ways maybe we can help you out through rescheduling or meeting your needs, or redirecting the package to another location that's going to be more convenient for where you're going to be due to this delay. So yeah, you have to be equally upfront with the bad news as the good. And you have to be able to take a bad experience and still try to make it the best delivery experience they've ever had, despite maybe the delay.
Yeah. So I would take one last question from remotely, which is: are you able to follow up on all the social media like TikTok in terms of recipient communication, or how do you handle it with platforms that you may not be on?
Yeah, we work through them as fast as we can. TikTok is an interesting one. I'm still not quite sure how we can track packages through TikTok, but I'm sure my team's going to be one of the first to figure it out. But everywhere else, yeah, we've got a dedicated social team that keeps up on that. And then as demand starts to grow through that team, then we add resources to it, start to train some of our staff or maybe more generic staff that was doing the bulk of the email responses. They end up now on Twitter and doing those responses as well, because they know what to say and they know how to interact.
Cool, thank you. Any other questions here from on-site? So my question would be, do we have a connection to Mike from Better Trucks?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, awesome.
All right, excellent.
Thanks, Steve, and applause for Mike for coming up next. We hear you loud and clear.
That is great. All right, just let me know when my slides are up and we'll be ready to go.
So not yet, but now they are.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much to the entire Bettermile team, as well as to you, Simon, for making me a part of this global event. And whether it's evening where you're at or mid-morning like it is here for me in the United States, welcome everyone to this particular event. Great presentation by Stephen. As Stephen mentioned, GLS as well as Better Trucks have a very strategic partnership, and I'll talk a little bit about that today. But I want to focus the next 20 to 25 minutes talking about how we at Better Trucks are helping our customers navigate and create more for their customers, customer-centric experiences. And so we're going to dive into a little bit of that. We're going to dive into a little bit of the things that we're doing that sort of mirror what we heard already from whether it's Stephen over at GLS or some of the things that Simon was breaking down as part of his marketing segment. But without further ado, let's jump right in. So I don't want to spend too much time on this. I want to just kind of give a brief introduction to myself. And I think it's important because, as Simon stated, there's a lot of people in this industry, myself included, who haven't been here for the last 20 plus years. And so I just want to give you a little bit of background as to how, my journey has sort of transpired over the course of the last 3 or 4 years here in logistics, but also in my career as a whole. So I started out of school working in finance technology. So I spent about 8 years at JP Morgan and got really, really familiar with really all different aspects of finance and banking. In 2010, I had the opportunity to jump into consulting, a London-based company called Kin + Carta. And what was interesting around that time is, 2008, 2009, the inception of the iPhone as well as the Android phone. And then 2009, 2010, the app stores coming online. It really was sort of a new frontier as it relates to some of the largest brands in the world that I had the opportunity to work with to try to figure out, how were they going to use digital to their advantage? And how were they going to do it in a way, in many cases, where they were getting picked apart by smaller digital startups who were able to move much faster from a digital standpoint. So I spent about 8 years in consulting, worked with some of these large brands that you see here, including Germany's own BMW, spent some time working with them. And then a couple of folks that I work with consulting got into last mile parcel delivery. One of my former colleagues in 2019 created Better Trucks, asked me to jump into an industry I knew nothing about, and I've been here ever since. So kudos to Simon for highlighting the fact that the more that we share, the better that we are together as a community. Really love that sentiment. So that's just a little bit about me, but we're going to focus the majority of our time, the next 20, 25 minutes, talking about Better Trucks and how we see the disruption and the alternative that we can provide in this particular industry in the last mile parcel delivery, both for our customers and their customers with a software-driven approach. And we believe that is best delivered today and built for what we call the now or never economy, right? And so as we walk through a little bit about Better Trucks and what differentiates us, we'll try to pinpoint some of the places where we're trying to make sure that we're doing best by our customers and in turn on behalf of their customers. So we are, as I stated, an alternative brand to the large national prominent players here in the United States, and those are primarily FedEx and UPS. And so the model associated with FedEx and UPS is what we call or would consider very closed, a very legacy, a big business model, and one that we would also state is very asset heavy. And so what do we mean by that? In terms of being asset heavy, UPS and FedEx have a very large and very expensive fixed fleet. They also have fixed overhead and capacity as it relates to their warehouses and to their sites, whether it's warehouses in urban or in suburban areas, or whether it's large warehouses connected to large airports. They have a fixed overhead and capacity. As similar to the early days of digital, with a lot of the large companies that were trying to adopt it, UPS and FedEx are very large organizations. They have very inflexible workflows and systems. We'll talk a little bit more about that, as well as the fact that they are, in many cases, walking around with technology that's 20, 30 years old, right? So there's a really good opportunity for organizations like Better Trucks, as well as organizations like GLS, to really provide a different experience, a much more technology-based and customer experience than many customers are getting from FedEx and UPS today. Just to contrast a little bit of the Better Trucks model, we call our model open. It's a first of a kind sort of platform, and it's similar to what Stephen was articulating about Bettermile. We try to think about it not only holistically but modular as well. But one of the things that's different about Better Trucks is we have a flexible driver model, and so about 40% of our packages today are delivered by gig drivers, meaning that they can sign up to work with Better Trucks. They bring their own vehicles to our warehouses. They complete routes that they select, and then we pay them same day. We have a very asset-light, flexible warehousing model. We don't sign up for very long-term leases. We don't own any of the buildings that we're in, and that allows us to scale up and scale down pretty quickly in different markets. And then we'll talk a little bit more about our flexible, dynamic, software-driven processes, and again, how we're using a software-centric approach to create that customer-centric approach. And then everything that we do is open. Our technology stack is built to ease the adoption both on our customers as well as providers as well. Just a little bit about our coverage. And again, I tip my cap to Stephen and to his team as part of their partnership. This is the coverage map for Better Trucks today. All of the blue and purple shaded regions are places where we have sort of native Better Trucks hubs. And then in partnership with GLS, you'll see all the purple shaded states here in the U.S. that Stephen mentioned are owned and operated by GLS. So we are creating a nationwide coverage capability for our customers, and in turn it has fueled our growth. So this is what the current map looks like, and obviously we're looking to extend that into the future as well as part of partnerships, as well as organic growth. I do want to just make one mention that I typically refer to customers as being sort of large retailers or larger organizations who are selling their products, and then the end customer here being the consumer who's the one that ordered the good or package from the customer, from the retailer. So just some vocabulary distinctions that I want to go through here really quickly. So, but let's just kind of dive into again, kind of how and where we're thinking about the customer as well as the consumer. And I think it's easiest to start with the consumer. The consumer is pretty good. Over the course of the last 3 years, average delivery time has dropped significantly from 7 days to 3.8 days. You see these spikes going up in these areas shaded in blue, similar as Simon stated. These are our peak seasons, and we've got one right around the corner. And so, customer as well as consumer expectations continue to rise, though, no matter how fast packages are getting, or how much faster packages are getting to their doorsteps. And so, again, Better Trucks is looking to leverage custom software that we build to meet the ever increasing demands, again, from both the customer as well as the consumer here, as we can see. And then I think it was Stephen mentioned that, or it was on the fight card slide that Simon had. All parties are expecting speed and seamless experiences, and they're expecting that absolutely everywhere. And so this is a data source, Cloud IQ marketing charts poll where consumers were asked about, what is it that drives positive service as well as digital experiences for you? And obviously, some of the same themes that Stephen hit on are not only listed here, but are top of mind for us as well. So speed. Customers want things as quickly as possible. They want that smooth, continuous, effortless type of experience, really just sort of being served or pushed to them, to use Stephen's sort of point earlier. They also want a sense of control. They want that ability to see where things are at in real time. They want to be updated. They want to be provided timely alerts and reminders. So obviously, none of this is news for those folks who are in the industry. And I would also say these are tend to transpose across not only one particular industry, but this is becoming the digital norm, as everyone knows, regardless of what industry you're in. So the question then becomes, well, why can't market leaders like FedEx and UPS meet these expectations? Why is there an opportunity for Better Trucks and GLS to enter the fold? And I give you Exhibit A here. This is the UPS Dyad 2. And this was a handheld computer that was introduced in 1991, was originally created so that UPS could just cut down on the number of pieces of paper going back and forth, not only inside their organization, but with partners as well. The first year it was rolled out in 91, it saved 59 million pieces of paper. Obviously accomplished its goal, but if you fast forward 32 years today, these are one of the things, this is one of the, again, examples or exhibits that's really holding UPS back today and provides an opportunity. How difficult it might be for UPS to try to meet customer expectations today, based off the fact that a majority of the UPS drivers today are forced to carry around and use exclusively this proprietary piece of hardware. And so this natural question comes about as we look at, logistics and last mile delivery of, how do we find and build customer centricity, value, and speed? And again, I go back to my consulting days. I go back to the early days of, the app stores coming online, and large organizations really trying to figure out, okay, how do we use digital tooling and digital experiences as a strategic weapon, and how do we think about that differently than we did in the past? And so one of these sort of core principles that's been out for a very long time is this idea of unbundling. And so the idea is that you take a very large industry or a very long process, such as the customer buying process, and you unbundle that, you break that down into individual units of measure. And those individual units of measure or individual aspects or points along the journey are broken down into their own domains, and they're thought about from a customer standpoint, exclusive of the other pieces of the domain. And so one or the other domains as part of the overall journey. So, the easiest example that I have to explain this is the Apple iTunes Store. So when that came online, the only way, prior to digital music, outside of being able to rip it off via Napster, was, if you wanted to go out and get any sort of, sort of digital music, you had to, defer to buying the entire album, right? Whether it was a physical or whether it was digital. And so one of the revolutionary things that Apple did was it brought the iTunes sort of music content and other content to digital users, but it also broke down the ability where I didn't need, as a consumer, to buy the entire album. I could just go ahead and purchase an individual song, right? And so that is an idea of kind of this, again, kind of call it unbundling, call it, it's got very many names used today: domain-driven design, value stream mapping. We want to break down a customer journey, and we want to create points and modular moments of value for the customer all the way throughout. And so again, if we look at this unbundling and we look at it sort of historically, what were some of the places where this took off in the right around the inception of this larger digital revolution? Banking was first, right? And so there became this very strategic sort of slicing and dicing of individual capabilities from a banking standpoint when all of these digitally native startups got into the mix. And so as we see the unbundling of, in this case, Bank of America, we see credit cards as one particular domain, wealth and investments another, investment banking being another. And so there's been a large 12 year run where banking has not only been unbundled, but it's been unbundled even further. But if we contrast that to today, we're still very much at the early days of the unbundling of UPS. We're obviously focused in, as part of this conversation, to last mile delivery and parcel carrier companies. But we work with and partner with a lot of these other partners who are, again, I would consider very much digitally native, such as folks in the visibility and the tracking side of things, as well as e-commerce fulfillment, as well as some of the shipping aggregators. And so we're at the very, very early stages of seeing organizations like UPS being unbundled today through the help of digital. And so again, as we look at sort of the ordering journey as well as the consumer post-ordering journey, we really want to break down at Better Trucks and have broken down the individual domains or value streams. And I want to go through those. Today and ensure that we have the ability to just highlight some of the challenges and some of the ways in which we're meeting those challenges. So we're going to step into order creation. And so this is really on the customer side. So think about it as the retailer side. As I mentioned, we've got a very open platform, and our goal is flexibility. So the way that we preach to our customers as well as prospects is any channel, any configuration, any partner. So any customer that wants to work with us, we've got a lot of customers who are very, very digitally astute and can integrate with us dynamically with our real-time API. But we've got other customers who are maybe have one API integration to a shipping aggregator like an EasyPost or a Shippo. We are available to integrate with on those platforms, but we've got a lot of other customers who are really sort of new at this digital thing. And so we've got a lot of customers that we're supporting today that interface with us through manifests, through flat files, as well as we also support EDI-based communication. So regardless of how customers want to transmit orders to us and for us to put, in order for them to put Better Trucks labels on boxes, we can really support any channel possible. Any configuration is, a lot of customers say, hey, I really need to ensure that my label is on the box, either from a branding standpoint, or there's a specific order ID that ties to our tracking ID. And so any configuration that's needed in terms of a label, if customers want to use their own label, if they want to use their own tracking numbers, we can support that. And then again, as we mentioned, the unbundling, there's a lot of individual partners, whether it's on the tracking side, whether it's on the invoicing side. And we have a vast and robust list of partners in this particular space that we can integrate with as part of any customer onboarding. And so that's one of the challenges that we're solving sort of up front when it comes to order creation. I want to talk a little bit about sortation as well. A lot of proprietary tooling that we've built as it relates to our sortation, and in turn, that is going to greatly increase the reliability that our packages are getting from their original or origination metro into the destination metro. That things don't get missorted and that we are able to deliver packages on time. And so we've worked over the course of the last 3 or 4 years building Android-based software integrations with some of the largest leading hardware manufacturers in order to create a very, very dynamic and very, very reliable integration to our nightly sortation process. One of the things that we are working on, or I should say, one of the things that we originally started working on and are still enhancing today is this idea of container scanning. And this allows us to not have to handle the package in every single metro that a package may travel through as part of its way through our network or potentially the combination of the Better Trucks and GLS network. And so not only are we scanning for traceability and auditability on the individual packages, but we're putting these packages into Gaylords. We have a custom labeling system for that, and we are tracking those packages inside of those containers so that at any point in time, we know not only where that package has been, but where it's at today. And the other reason we're able to do that is we also have this idea of sort of a container of containers or a primary parent Gaylord. And in many cases, those IDs are linked to our middle mile network. So we can also not only tell you where a package has been, what current Gaylord it's sitting in, but if it's in transit, which one of our assets is on the road in our middle mile network. And so that again has helped us cure a problem where packages originally when we started out in 2019 were getting missorted, sent to incorrect metros, packages would be late. So this is something that we've built into our sortation process as well. And then lastly, similar to the Bettermile folks, we have almost exclusively built out our own routing system. And that isn't necessarily to say that the off-the-shelf routing and delivery systems out there today aren't didn't serve our purposes really well for the first couple of years of our organization. But at the end of the day, we needed the ability to control our own destiny in order for us to create those customer as well as consumer-centric experiences, as well as to create the optimizations in-house to make that happen. We had to make the investment on our side to build out our own custom routing platform. So we're able to do routing optimizations. We're also able to do a delivery optimization. So I talked about the fact that 40% of our delivery workforce, our delivery drivers, are gig-based. So we have an understanding of not only who those drivers are, but what type of vehicle they drive. And so we can, depending on what package volume is in the metro for a given day, we can give individuals with smaller vehicles smaller routes. For individuals with larger vehicles, we can give them not only larger routes, but we can look at some of our larger packages, like our perishable boxes, which tend to be larger. And so that delivery optimization is just something that we couldn't find in an off-the-shelf product. And again, a giant leap that we needed to take in order to, again, build these optimizations not only for ourselves, but on behalf of our customers and their customers, the consumer. Oh, sorry about that. I just want to talk real fast about delivery and reporting, and then I'll turn it over here at this particular point. In a similar way, we've created a custom driver application for our drivers as well. This in turn allows us to map their particular routes, as well as to ensure quality. If we can see that they haven't taken a proof of delivery image, or that the proof of delivery image is incorrect, we use Google Vision in order to ensure that this is a correct POD, or if it's not, we have to inform the driver that did not pass our appropriate control test. The last thing that I'll state real quickly here is, you heard about this as part of the last meetup. Package tracking is very, very important to our customers as well as to the end consumer. And so we are in many cases working in strong connection with a lot of the tracking partners in this particular space today, integrating with them, sharing tracking information with them. In many cases, a lot of these tracking partners are the ones that you see here. We have integrations with all of these, and in turn, it helps our customers really get a better understanding of the visibility of where these packages are at, and as well as when they can expect them. One last thing in terms of how are we integrating with these particular tracking providers, as well as providing tracking data back. We have an event relay mechanism where we will send tracking data both to the shipper as well as to the tracking partner. We can send that stuff out in real time, which allows us to get, again, that information not only back to our customers to be able to see it, but also to the tracking partner, which in many cases is where the consumer is picking that up as well. And so that an example of that would just be our integration with Narvar, two brands here, Yeti and the Limited, where you can see the information that's passed to them is ultimately shared with the customer. Last thing I'll state is that as a point of reference is that customers are very savvy. Customers are watching every move that carriers are making. So we recently had a VP of supply chain reach out to me and stated that our customers are extremely skittish and will call our customer service line nonstop. They don't see any tracking updates between when an order leaves our distribution center in LA until you guys at Better Trucks take custody in Nashville. So would you mind going out of your way and creating some phantom scans in your system stating that a day in or 12 hours in that the package is in Las Vegas, and then another 12 hours it's in Colorado. So that's my last and parting advice. Customers are extremely savvy. Hopefully that gives you a good understanding of how we're looking at the customer journey here at Better Trucks. Apologies for going a little bit over, but I'll hand it back to you, Simon and team, at this point.
Thanks, Mike. That was a fantastic run through Better Trucks. Thanks a lot. I would take the first question here from on site. Any volunteers? Yes.
Hi. So yeah, first of all, nice presentation. It was really interesting to hear from you. What was quite interesting for me was this focus on driver flexibility. So to the ability to onboard new drivers thanks to the technology, which is easy to use. How do you integrate this into the industry where parcel volume can change day by day, and we have, as we said, also the peak season or different periods during the year? How do you deal with this?
Yeah, thanks so much for mentioning that. I was getting a little bit hurried along. I apologize for taking some time there. Kind of trying. Probably spent too much time kind of setting up the business, but I don't know if you could bring my slides back up. But yeah, we have a very intense algorithm on a slide that I actually skipped over, primarily to address that particular problem, right? What's the package by metro? What day of the week it is? How close we are in proximity to peak? Are we in the middle of peak? How close we are to a holiday? And so we have some algorithms that run behind the scenes. Now we can see order data a couple of days in advance, and that helps us kind of feed the data models to determine how many actual drivers we need. Now, granted, the other sort of science here is how many of the people who say that they're going to stay up, or who say that they're going to sign up and drive and deliver for us actually show up on a day. So when a day we have 60 routes in a particular metro, how many are actually going to show up? Do we need to actually sign 70 up, knowing that only 60 will show up? So there's some analytical things that we can do and that we do, and I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to cover that in the presentation. Great question though. And then there's the other human element of how many people in this metro do we have to overestimate based off of typically don't show up, or another thing we have to watch is weather. So great question.
All right. For all joiners online, please put in your question into the chat so it shows up on my screen here. I would take another question here from on site. I saw another hand. No, okay. Here.
Hi, thanks for presentation. It may be a stupid question and maybe you already have that implemented, but from what I understood, the consumers are checking the status of the parcel delivery very often, even 4 times. I guess it's on average, so there are guys who would be checking it even more than that. Wouldn't an automatic system of notification solve that? So basically they would be automatically notified, hey, your parcel left this point, your parcel is that many times, that many kilometers, that much time away from you, because that would basically keep them away from checking on their own. They would be automatically notified, and I guess that could be value added, unless you already have that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a similar question, and I've got my slides back up to just kind of to showcase this. But it kind of goes back to Simon's point earlier, which is many brands don't want their carriers reaching out directly to their customers, and so yes, we certainly have the capability, especially for brands who want it. And so how brands are typically doing this today, and Narvar is a great example of this. Narvar is a very, very popular tracking platform here in the United States, used by a lot of very large retail brands. We will send the tracking information to Narvar in real time. As part of the Narvar experience, or any tracking provider experience, you can see in these particular screenshots that the customer has the ability to subscribe to these updates. And so in many cases, it's kind of, they're two steps or two kind of parties removed from Better Trucks. Ultimately, they're getting the information from Better Trucks. We're just passing it to the tracking provider, and then the tracking provider, since they're the ones that have been sort of given the blessing to reach out to the customer, to have customer communications with the customer brand, they have the ability to sign up for it there. But absolutely have the capability, as Simon mentioned earlier. It's a very, very slippery slope asking customers if we can reach out to the consignee or the consumer, because in many cases the customers, the retailer does not want the carrier to do that. But great question.
Cool. All right. I see no online questions. Oh, well, I see one. From Adrian, asking a bit of an offensive ask, but what do you want to unbundle the most with Better Trucks? Short answer.
Yeah, great question. I think tracking and visibility, it's the most closest touch point with the end consumer. And I think that last question just touched on it. We have a lot of value that we can provide, both to our customers, which would translate down to the end consumer around tracking. And so to me, there's so much unbundling, much more unbundling that could take place there. And given the opportunity to do so, to work closer with customers, to work with the end consumer, that would be my preferred place to unbundle further. Great question.
Cool. Thanks so much, Mike, for introducing us to Better Trucks and your plan behind it. That was amazing. Looking forward to the panel discussion later on. I wrote down some further questions that I'm quite interested in. Happy to discuss it further on. Now, please say thank you to Mike and welcome Nicolo.
Cool. Here we go. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Simon, and thanks, Bettermile, for having invited me here. First of all, like a quick intro about myself. I'm Nicolo Giacobino, originally from Italy. I moved in Berlin over 10 years ago. And I worked in several logistic companies, like Out1, Seven Senders. and since 2.5 years I'm working at Wintergo as a strategic partnership manager and also responsible for a team managing the Western European country. So for today, let me see. Okay, yeah. I prepared like a brief presentation for today. The main topic we're gonna touch is Vinted. So we're gonna discuss about Vinted shipping proposition in Europe. Then we're gonna discuss about how to select the best carrier in order to provide users with the best experience. And at the end, we're gonna touch like Vinted Go in France, so our own logistics. In case you still don't know Vinted, I just want to give you like some overview about the company. So currently Vinted is the first C2C fashion marketplace in Europe. We are live in 19 countries, not only in Europe, sorry, also US and Canada. 19 countries, we just launched Denmark 2 weeks ago. We have over 80 million registered users in the app and around 800 million items listed. Unfortunately, not all of those 800 million convert into real shipment, but still like a big portion of it does. And what is really important is to provide our users with the best possible experience. Vinted mission is to make second-hand a network of first choice worldwide. And in order to do it, we also need to try to solve barriers and remove all the friction that currently users are having when trading between each other. It's particularly important here because due to the nature of our business, we don't have like the same logistic flow as a B2C or a B2B company. Being a C2C provider, it means that we are connecting private users, so in this case like a buyer and a seller, into our platform, and we need to be double responsible for like both user experience. How we do it, so how actually, we try to give and to provide our users like a good experience. First of all, by leveraging what is the out-of-home delivery network that is composed mainly by PUDOs, so both locker and shops, through like our trustable logistic partner based all around Europe. Also because like it's relevant in this case because we are like active in 19 countries, but most of them are also connected between each other. Okay. So let's say 19 countries, but a lot of connection like all around Europe. When selecting a carrier, so let's say that's maybe the most important point about the presentation. Whenever we need to find like a carrier, we're launching new countries, or we need to be sure that we're actually choosing the right provider, first of all, and that's like the main rules like in our companies, like we need to find convenient and affordable shipping service. If you think about, let's say, what is the type of the goods, let's say, trade on Vinted, and it's mainly second-hand fashion, you can imagine that users are not willing to pay a high fee for delivery. And in order to achieve it, we strongly believe like in focusing and pushing in the out-of-home network provided by our carrier. So network is like one of the most important points. By network, we do not only mean size. Okay, so it's not just about the number of PUDO and locker, let's say, available in a country, but it's also like concern the type of network. Proximity, density. It is important to have a good network like in urban areas, so let's say in the main cities, but it's also important to have like a relevant network also like in the countryside. The idea is like to be able to reach the majority of the population, and in order to do it, we need always to have like multiple solutions, multiple carriers, and looking for the carrier that is providing the best network. Not only network, not only proximity and density, also like additional specification, as for example, which is the type of shop, which are the opening times, which is the max dimension, for example, of parcel that it could be accepted in the shop, and also like for how many days it can be stored in the parcel shop. On top of network, so we talk about network, convenience, operation as well. Okay, we are not, let's say, 100% relying on like speed delivery. So we're not obsessed with having the parcel delivered on the same day. Also because in our logistic flow, whenever you're putting together a seller and a buyer, you can have like a fast delivery. So let's say you can purchase and have like a good delivery service for the last mile. But imagine if the buyer is taking 4 or 5 days to pack the goods, to go to the drop-off point and to deliver the parcel. Let's say in some of the cases, maybe it could not be worth it. So let's say more than like speed, we are like willing to have like a reliable delivery time. So we want to tell our users that if they're waiting the parcel in 4 working days, that's when they're going to receive the parcel. Percentage of loss damage, as always, as minimal as possible. And also shipping CS ticket. Okay, so the lowest as much. As well the integration. So whenever we integrate into new carriers, it's really important to understand which are the specifications of these carriers. One of the most important one is digital versus printable label. We are a C2C company. We're focused on sustainability, and having, for example, like a digital label solution is already like a good way to go. Digital versus printable, tracking latency. Tracking latency could be also connected to the shipping CS ticket rate. Imagine you're going to a shop as a seller, you're dropping off your parcel in 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. You don't receive any tracking event about the parcel being picked up or like accepted in the Pudo. Normal users create like CS ticket, so that's also like a way we want to minimize as much as possible, plus full text support and flexibility in communication. And when I say flexibility, for example, like I imagine the cases when, for example, we had carriers that were completely new to the C2C environment. They were like just like a B2C, B2B provider, and together, we found a way to collaborate. They did like some effort on the side from IT perspective, and basically we launched this shipping solution together. Yeah, so everything that I just spoke about now was focused on network, sustainability, price as well. So like shipping delivery being affordable. Due to the nature of the business, so due to the nature of Vinted, also sustainability is like a super important topic. We recently ran a report through Value. So Value is like one of the most important platforms for carbon emission. So they track carbon emission for like e-commerce business. We had like a panel of over 350,000 users. And the discovery were like pretty relevant. So basically, just by choosing pickup points over home delivery from our users reduces significantly the climate impact of the transaction. Okay, so here just to give like an example, out of 350,000 users, 70% of the transaction were decided by the user to be delivered to a pickup point instead of an home delivery. And the delivery to the Pudo reduced emission by 62%. How we reduce emission? Because of consolidation. Okay? So whenever you go into a Pudo, there is a possibility to like, drop off several parcels. Carrier can consolidate parcel when they deliver to the Pudo, and carrier can consolidate parcel when they pick it up from the Pudo. So yeah, so sustainability, pricing reduction, giving customer experience, with like the best shipping experience ever. Let's say a natural move was like to move ourselves into logistic company. Okay, so last year we launched Vinted Go. You can see here like an example of the locker. It's over a year. Now we have around 800 PUDOs between locker and points available in France. So the first city we started was Paris, then Lyon and Lille. And we are aiming to expand our network and to be more present in France in the upcoming year. Yeah, here you can see like a map. Updated September 2023, 885 points. Also new city, already launched. So on top of Lyon, Paris and Lille, also Toulouse, Marseille, Bordeaux, Strasbourg and Clermont-Ferrand. And yeah, what we're aiming to put our pin all over France and be able to push our own logistic solution to improve through affordability, sustainability, and basically by giving our users what we consider being the best customer experience. That's it. Thank you a lot.
Yeah. Thanks, Nicolo. Thanks a lot. Please, all remote joiners, fill in your questions now into the chat field. I take the first question here from on-site. Yeah, Yasha.
Thanks, Nicolo. Awesome presentation.
Thank you.
I would like to know, how do you incentivize your sellers to use the logistic carriers that you would like to promote?
From Vinted Go perspective, that's what you mean. Okay, so first of all, now we're connecting buyers and sellers. Okay, so the one in control of the shipping, so the one deciding for the service is the buyer. Okay, basically the buyer is the one that is responsible for basically covering the cost of the shipment. So cost could be already like a point. Network availability, so let's say having like a PUDO point close to your place already could be, let's say a good incentive to use this specific carrier, plus, for example, customer experience. What is important is that buyers are the one deciding it, but buyers are deciding it based on the seller availability. Okay, so for example, if you want to use Vinted Go as a shipping provider, you cannot select it if the seller doesn't have a point of Vinted Go close to his place, because we don't want to give to the buyer, let's say, a good experience, but let's say not give like an ideal experience to the seller that, for example, has to drive 20 kilometers to reach the Vinted locker and drop off the parcel. Yeah. So currently, just on the buyer perspective, we can influence, let's say, or he is the one that's basically deciding.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any further questions to Nicolo?
Thanks. You've got quite a number of countries that you operate in, so I was really interested in finding out, when you expand to a new country, you're now in Denmark, what kind of things do you take into account there? Because there's obviously also some cultural differences potentially in how people expect to use the service.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we have a strategic team that is responsible for this, luckily. As you said, they're checking everything that is like e-commerce penetration. How do they see second-hand in general? If there is already like a competition of Vinted, it could be already like a good sign that there is a market fit. Let's say from my team side, what this is relevant is to do like a proper investigation of shipping and try to see, if the countries could be suitable for the shipping proposition that Vinted has in other countries. Okay, so for example, like shipping costs could be already like a blocking point. Yeah.
Dario.
Yes. I have another question for you.
Hi.
Nice presentation again. So you didn't talk about the tracking experience, let's say, that you provide, I guess, through Vinted Go. How does that work? And I was wondering if that kind of starts right after the purchase, let's say. So how do you integrate the buyer and the seller into this tracking experience, let's say?
Yeah, so let's say, yeah, correct. So the tracking experience is like in-app, so it's provided by Vinted. We have like 2 different tracks of tracking, so it's available already in the chat. No, so whenever you're like purchasing or selling an item on Vinted, there is like you receive straight like a notification. We also give the hyperlink to the carriers. So in case, for example, the users, no, they want to investigate more about a parcel, or they don't fully rely, for example, on our tracking experience, they can always click and go to the tracking event. So, as I was mentioned before, no, and it's also like really important whenever we are like integrating a new carrier in our system, latency is super like an important aspect. So whenever there is like something happening for like a logistic perspective, it could be drop off, it could be like a pickup, we are expecting the carrier to share with us like like as soon as possible the tracking event before the users are coming back to us asking what is happening with my parcel. Yeah.
Okay. I don't see any further questions from online, but here we have one.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just wondered how is the, I mean, you already have some insights now from France, I believe, and I would be wondering how is the acceptance of your Vinted Go service compared to a regular carrier?
Yeah, so let's say we recently started, but we leverage the knowledge that we experienced like in the past coming from different carriers. And also like we are super focused on providing our users with the best experience, so the best solution. So generally the score is nice. Still what we see as a fact that we need to improve is like network. So for example, still there are some users that they know about Vinted, but maybe they don't have a locker close to their place. And so they're like asking or like requesting information about the development of the locker network. But yeah, let's say more or less like so far, yeah, so good. Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a question. My family is a heavy Vinted user. And but to be honest, I've never shipped a parcel to get like my C to reach my other C with my used T-shirt. The best locker that I have is my post box just around the corner from the in that case German post provider Deutsche Post that is probably available for a cheap price. And maybe it's also not necessary to track down a €3 T-shirt with a tracking number. But this kind of gets in conflict with your user experience goals, right? Transparency, because post per se is undocumented. So what's the share of like postal shipments versus parcel shipments, and how do you see the difference and also the lack of user experience that you can create here?
You mean like specifically talking about Germany in this case?
I guess in other countries it could be the same. I mean, there's also the Spanish Post and the French Poste de France. You know?
Yeah, so let's say that, I mean, when we say now that we are like aiming and focusing on providing our user with the best shipping solution, it means also like providing user with the most affordable shipping solution. So let's say in almost like 99% of the cases, we have competitive rates. So let's say you can try yourself to go like in a postal shop and try to ship, let's say, the parcel through the network, but it's gonna be more expensive for you. Okay, German Post is like maybe like the only different cases. So let's say in all the other European Union country where we are active, we are super competitive. Yeah, then about the effect of trading items, like €1, €3, yeah, that's the case. Let's say users, let's say, need motivation to get like to take the action, to take a picture, pack it, and deposit. For example, like in the drop-off point, but still we have like a lot of transaction with low value in terms of like item value, but still like since the experience is let's say seamless in a way, it's yeah, it's going well. Yeah.
Thanks. Any further questions? Oh, yeah.
Short one.
Yeah, last one.
Have you ever had a scenario where the buyer and the seller are located so closely that they use the same locker?
Wow. We don't know, actually. I don't know. I personally don't know.
Would
It
you
could be.
support that scenario and like a courier would never touch it? It would just be dropped off and picked up?
Let's say we would see, see where like visibility on the journey. We can track like how many parcels have been delivered like in a specific area and picked up in the same specific area. So it's quite minimal.
Okay.
But it could be. I found myself buying on Vinted and knowing that the seller itself was like based in Berlin as well. So I was asking myself, maybe the seller is just like next door. But what is also like important is like the matter of privacy. So the fact that you should not know exactly which is the name of the buyer and the seller, for GDPR reason.
Do you then also influence the content
The contact of?
of what I see that I can buy?
No.
To prevent, because if I've had it, I live in Amsterdam and I sold something to someone in Amsterdam and I was like, yeah, I can drop it off tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, where do you live exactly? And she said there, and I drive by it, I'll drop it off. So I didn't use the platform at all. So I can imagine that it's probably not a really big share, but I was wondering if you manipulate the content that I only see stuff from Spain, so I have to use a shipment option.
No. We don't manipulate the content, let's say, but we don't have control at the end, in this case about the users. So there is still like a rate of cancellation. So still like someone is using Vinted as a listing company. That's up to you. What we want to do is like we want to reduce as much as possible that number in order to have everything happening in escrow, so in our app. And the only way of doing it is like to providing like a good experience. Yeah.
Cool. Nicolo, thanks very much. Please give Nicolo a hand.
Thank you.
Please take a seat. So I would ask to bring Stephen and Mike back to our round here, if possible. Hey guys, how are you doing?
Good.
Yes, we can. Stephen, can you give us a try? Like a 1, 2, 3?
Yep. Can you get me?
Oh, yeah, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, guys, for your presentation. That was really exciting from the carrier perspective, but also from carrier retailer perspective. And I just basically want to bring you two parties, you as a retailer, but also carrier, and you carriers together, and ask as from the carrier side to Vinted, why do you become a carrier? It's so much risk. It's so much operations you have to take care of. It's all those lockers out there. People will pee at them, so you will have a lot of trouble. And I mean, Stephen, Mike, you know what I'm talking about. This is whenever you have something out there, whenever you have drivers involved, whenever you have to take care of a network, it's your business actually to take care of that. And for you, it's soon to become business. But do you know what you are starting into? And why do you do this?
Yeah. I never thought about it peeing on the locker actually, but I think that it's more about being in control of the end-to-end shipping proposition. We can really guarantee what actually the experience is from our users. Plus sustainability. So as mentioned before, it's like one of the core aspects at Vinted. And by having our own network and developing like a locker, like in a shop network in France, is the way to go, since we want to be as much as sustainable as possible. And the last one aspect is also like connected to cost, so like to reduce cost per unit, and also reduce dependency from 3PL, so from other carriers.
So especially like your to control the user experience from the very beginning to the end is like basically was one of the core informations or reasons, as far as I know, also for Amazon to build up Amazon Logistics. I haven't heard the word Amazon a single time from you, Mike, and you, Stephen. But I guess exactly this has a big impact also in terms of user experience. How do you see this? Like Amazon on the logistics on the one side as the ones who are creating like the demand for this kind of user experience, live tracking, etc., but also as a competitor. So this is how do you? And Mike, you mentioned UPS, FedEx, this duopoly of the U.S. market, but what about Amazon and their logistics arm? And maybe in the future, Vinted Go.
Yeah, and you're right. We look at as Amazon, much differently than the duopoly, as you stated, of FedEx and UPS. They are and have been setting again the customer experience standard, and have been raising the bar for not only this industry but for all industries, and that it extends well past e-commerce as well and retail. I think what's interesting is that, even though Amazon itself is a large retailer, there are massively large retail brands in the United States that also need to essentially provide that Amazon-like experience. And so it's our goal to not only, to meet that answer and that call, but also to go above and beyond that and provide a better experience than Amazon. And so, yeah, definitely in a different category than UPS and FedEx. Still, definitely, some level of competition there. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Stephen, how about you? On the West Coast, closer to Amazon than anyone else of us. So, how do you see this? Does customers come up to you and say, I want this like Amazon does? Or how do they, are they setting the standard, or how do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, Amazon's there. They're a closed ecosystem, so that's what kind of keeps them out of being necessarily a direct competitor. But definitely folks are trying to put together the Amazon experience. So through different 3PLs, fulfillment, and then final mile through folks like ourselves. So they're looking to build the pieces, kind of going back to that unbundling aspect, and we're one of the components of that for sure. So we have to keep up.
We have a very unique situation here because we have you as US players. We have you as a major European player, but also now stepping foot into Canada and United States. And all of you guys are know the industry very well. So my question would be, how do you see the differences between Europe and the US in terms of user experience demands, but also in terms of what carriers do have to provide? Nicola, do you see any major differences also, like from your perspective of Vinted?
Yeah, so what I can say about US and Canada, especially for like a shipping experience, is that so everything that I presented basically before, like when describing our shipping proposition in Europe, so the strong focus that we give to out-of-home delivery and PUDOs, and network and density, basically in the US is quite a challenge. Due to geographically reason, so let's say it's a vast country, and also because like it's not really, the people is not really concentrated. It's like in city or like in area like in Europe. So let's say it's more challenging from that point of view, and also like from an economical perspective. So let's say like managing deliveries in US is more expensive than Europe. For distance especially. So due to the nature of our business, let's say it's not easy to be like as much competitive as we are. But still like we're like in a learning phase. So yeah, we're gonna see like basically how to reduce the gap between what is US now and Europe.
Yeah. I mean, this geographical difference really makes sense, and I mean, parcel is a pretty manual thing. It's like a haptic, so you have to carry it. You have to need trucks. You need vans to do it. I mean, Stephen, you perfectly know like both markets. You are in the US, but you're connected to a European parcel group. So what's your perspective on the differences in the market? I mean, price was mentioned, geography was mentioned, but maybe let's dive a little bit into user experience. Where do you see the major differences? Like, for example, in the US, as far as I got, picture POD or photo POD is fine in most cases. I know in most European countries it's not. So maybe you know other topics that may be a big difference.
Yeah, the mentality in the U.S. is definitely built around delivering right to users, recipients' doorsteps. So right to them. Very different than what we see with the parcel lockers and some of the historical norms in Europe. I believe if my colleagues in Europe are telling it correctly, there's a lot bigger demand for if you deliver to a house that someone needs to sign for it. Leaving a package outside of a location is just not the norm in Europe, whereas in the US, that's always been, even when e-commerce was really a tiny thing, to leave something outside a door was quite common in that aspect here in the US. So you've got that from a user experience. I also think folks here in the US are just used to the duopoly. So they're used to being underserved. And so when I first got to experience GLS, it was really interesting seeing the technology and some of the niches and different aspects that folks brought to the user experience in Europe, because it was a more competitive environment. There's more players. Each country has kind of a country local. There's some cross-border. So the experience in Europe is much more diverse, whereas in the US, it got normalized. And Amazon really did break that in a lot of ways away from the duopoly. So you're seeing them have to catch up. And then you've got folks like myself and Mike and everyone else that's out there trying to disrupt it. So the US is evolving, I think, into a more European style than it did before.
Mm-hmm. Mike, how do you see it? I mean, knowing also probably Europe a little bit and very well your US-American market, if you would have if your investors would come up to you and say, let's go to Europe, what would you say?
Yeah,
Are you prepared?
A couple of things.
Are you prepared? They give you 6 months.
We're always prepared, ambitious from an operations standpoint. My job to ensure that we're ready from a technology standpoint, and so I would say maybe. But I think one of the things that we mentioned earlier, I think Stephen mentioned it, is GDPR, right? There's a lot more regulations around data and privacy, and some of that goes into kind of just the differences in delivery model. But at the end of the day, operating in Europe has different sort of regulatory concerns. I think the other thing, and maybe this kind of going back in talking about European companies looking to move into the U.S. market is one of the greater challenges as well is developing your middle mile network, right? And so in many cases, going into new metros or going into in a similar context, a new country or a new continent, the last mile delivery piece is really just a small portion of it. Understanding, how do you piece together that middle mile network to get a package from Chicago to Dallas is a huge challenge in the United States, and you're afforded the ability to do that within one country. Granted, you've got the EU, right? But if you want to get a package in a similar way from Brussels to Naples, right? Identifying in an asset light way, how do I piece together the middle mile network to get the package across half of Europe in 3 or 4 different countries. I'm assuming that would be a challenge that we'd have to work out as we move hypothetically into Europe.
Cool. Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Also for you joining on site. Thanks a lot for you as speakers, Mike, Stephen, Nicolo. That was a pleasure to really, and a great exciting to understand what challenges you have, how your models work.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Last Mile Delivery Meetup. We hope you enjoyed the exclusive insights and discussions shared during this podcast. If you are interested in finding out more about upcoming events, technological updates, and industry news, subscribe to the Bettermile newsletter. The link is in our bio. Thanks for listening.